The story opens with a young girl running through the night, clutching her doll tightly as if trying to escape from something terrifying. She dashes into her house to hide, but a figure soon follows her inside. Wielding an axe, the stranger brutally hacks her into pieces. Some of her blood splashes onto the doll she was holding. A cut to an old newspaper reveals that this horrific crime happened on August 12, 1947. From that night forward, a sinister game known as Body Search began. Each year, on the same date at midnight, the spirit of the murdered girl selects students to play. Their task is to find her scattered remains and place them inside a coffin. Anyone who fails is doomed to remain trapped in the game forever, reliving the nightmare in an endless cycle. In the present day, we meet Asuka, a quiet and reserved girl who doesn't have any friends. She gets ready for school and heads out, but on the way she witnesses a disturbing sight. A cat is crushed by a bus right before her eyes. At her school, there's a timid boy named Shota who often becomes the target of bullying by his classmates. During lunch, while other students eat together in groups, Asuka sits alone. She takes her lunchbox to the schoolyard, where she suddenly notices bloody hands emerging from a nearby well. Shocked, she stares at them, but in the blink of an eye, they vanish. She then hears a faint girl's voice asking Asuka to find her body. When she turns around, no one is there. It becomes clear that this is the spirit of the girl from the beginning, the one who now drags children into her deadly game. Later that night, Asuka receives unsettling messages from an unknown sender. The texts read things like, "Do you know why the red person is red? Because they're drenched in blood. If you're caught, you'll turn red too." Frightened, Asuka throws her phone aside and tries to sleep. Exactly at midnight, she finds herself transported to her school's church, where 4 other classmates are also present: Takehiro, Shota, Ri, and Rumiko. Another boy, Asushi, who had dropped out years earlier, is strangely there too. Confused about how they all arrived, Asushi decides to walk away, but before he can leave, the spirit brutally splits him in half. Soon after, Rumiko is also killed. Terrified, the remaining students rush to the library for safety, but the blood-soaked spirit continues her slaughter, killing them one by one. Suddenly, Asuka wakes up in her own bed, believing it was just a nightmare. But when she heads to school that morning, she realizes everything is repeating exactly as before. The cat dies under the bus again, and the same classmates appear to remember the events of the previous night. She now understands she is trapped in the body search loop. The students discuss the curse, and Shota reveals his research. The chosen players must gather all 8 pieces of the victim's body and place them inside a coffin. Only then will the cycle end. But they must also beware of the red person, a murderous figure who hunts them down during the game. That night, the students return to the school at midnight. Asushi refuses to help, so the others split up to search. Asuka and Takehiro search a classroom, where they find a severed hand. Just then, the red person appears. Takehiro distracts it, while Asuka runs to the coffin and places the hand inside. Unfortunately, one by one, the students, including Takehiro, are killed, and eventually Asuka is also slain. They manage to collect only one body part before the night reset again. The next day, the loop restarts, but this time, something changes. When the bus approaches, Asuka and Takehiro manage to save the cat. Later, Ri and Rumiko meet them again, and together they rejoice that teamwork had allowed them to secure one body part the night before. With this new bond, Asuka finally feels a glimmer of happiness in the middle of the endless nightmare. Takehiro and the others reveal more about Asushi's past. Years ago, while playing basketball, he suffered a severe leg injury that took a long time to heal. During that difficult period, he sank into depression, and even after recovering physically, he never returned to school or rejoined his old life. Through their research, the group discovers chilling information in old newspapers. About 30 years earlier, a gruesome crime took place near their school. An 8-year-old girl named Miko Anyama was brutally murdered, her body chopped into pieces and scattered across the school grounds. Although the police managed to recover most of her remains, they never found her head. With this discovery, the students realize the horrifying truth: the red person who haunts them is none other than Miko's restless spirit. Shota then comes up with a clever plan to outsmart her. He suggests blasting loud music throughout the school at night so the red person can't track them by sound. Meanwhile, they will stay connected with walkie-talkies while searching for the missing body parts. Following Shota's strategy, they successfully recover several more remains over multiple nights, leaving only the head and one leg still missing. Each time they find a piece, it remains in the coffin permanently, even when the cycle resets, which gives them hope. The next day, the group celebrates their progress, now only the head remains. Together, they decide to investigate the old house where Miko was murdered. Inside, they discover a disturbing drawing she once made, which reveals that she had an unusually strong attachment to her doll, Emily, far more than to her own parents. Miko had been mentally unstable, isolated from school, and treated within that house. To her, Emily wasn't just a toy, it was her only true friend. Exploring further, the group notices something strange about one of the walls. Breaking it open, they make a horrifying discovery: Emily, the doll, still stained with Miko's dried blood, hidden inside. At that very moment, Miko's vengeful spirit suddenly manifests before them, sending the group into a panic as they flee in terror. That night, when the group enters the body search again, they notice something horrifying. From the shadows, they realize that Miko's vengeful spirit has fused with her doll, Emily, transforming into a monstrous creature. Panic sets in, and while everyone scrambles to escape, only Asuka and Rei manage to survive the initial attack. The others are gruesomely killed. But in their desperate flight, the creature devours Rei as well. Now Asuka is the last one left. While fleeing, she falls from a balcony and dies. The following morning at school, Asuka notices something chilling. Nobody in class even remembers Rei. Her name is missing from the attendance list, and the only ones who recall her existence are Asuka, Takehiro, Shota, and Rumiko. They come to understand the terrible truth. Anyone who gets consumed by the creature is erased from reality itself. Seeking answers, Asuka approaches the school librarian. He admits that he too was once trapped in this endless cycle. He explains that when the game ends, everyone forgets the friends who played it with them, wiped from memory as if they never existed. The only reason he remembers is because, years after his own school days, a book gifted to him by a friend resurfaced and reignited his memories. Hearing this, Asuka becomes deeply upset, knowing she will inevitably lose the bond she has formed. That evening, she confides in Takehiro. To comfort her, he gives her his school badge, telling her that when she sees it later, it will help her remember everything. When the next midnight arrives, the students prepare for what they believe is the final confrontation. They theorize that Miko's missing head must be inside the monstrous creature, so they decide to face it head on and cut its throat. During this tense moment, Takehiro realizes why Miko's spirit chose them for the body search. All 6 of them share the same painful loneliness that haunted Miko in life. The creature itself is a manifestation of that loneliness. The group understands that the only way forward is not to surrender to isolation, but to fight it together. When the creature appears, they battle it bravely. One by one, the others fall, leaving only Asuka alive. With the last of her strength, she manages to sever the creature's head. Inside, she finds Miko's missing head and places it in the coffin, finally completing the ritual. The next morning, it's raining as Asuka walks to school. To her shock, Takehiro, Shota, Rumiko, Rei, and even Asushi are all back in class, alive, but none of them remember the events of the game. On her way to assembly, Asuka accidentally drops the badge Takehiro gave her. When he picks it up, the memories come flooding back. He shows it to Asuka, and she too remembers. The two share a quiet understanding, and it's implied that Takehiro will help the others regain their memories as well. But the story doesn't end there. In a chilling post-credits scene, the camera lingers on the same cursed well where bloodied hands once emerged. Slowly, it pans downward to reveal an old newspaper with the headline about Miko's death. Blood begins to seep across the page, and Miko's face morphs into that of another young girl, Asuka. The paper now reports that she was killed near an amusement park, the very same place she and Takehiro often visited as children, something they briefly discussed earlier in the story. The horrifying implication is clear. The cycle isn't truly broken. A new loop is beginning, and this time Asuka herself has become the red person. Just as children were once chosen to search for Miko's body parts, others will now be forced to collect Asuka's remains. And with that revelation, the movie comes to a haunting close.